Hello and welcome to Charlie's Desk. For this video, I want to talk about the specifications for the long cane. So I have 6 different long canes on the desk. I have the Squirrel Devices tactile caliper, and I have a postage scale. And my computer is off screen, and I have this cool paper by Lee Farmer, one of the original orientation and mobility specialists. And in 1964, Russell C. Williams, the first director of Heinz Rehab for the VA, who was blind himself, and a key person in developing O&M, he put out specifications for the long cane because in the beginning, O&Ms were just kind of making the canes themselves. So apparently it was evident that there needed to be some specifications in there. Specifications for just a long cane, a straight cane, and then there's some specifications for a collapsible cane. So I'm going to just step down. I have the camera set up really high above the desk today because I need to see the whole desk. Okay, so this is from Lee or Lester Farmer's paper called Mobility Devices. The long cane. After the work done with the cane by Richard E. Hoover at Valley Forge, agencies and mobility specialists themselves for many years fabricated or bought canes without any standard specifications. The need for uniformity in an acceptable long cane was apparent. Under the leadership of Russell C. Williams, the Veterans Administration in 1964 published specifications for the long cane, and then in parentheses, Tyflophile cane, which helped establish a model long cane. Although this publication on specifications for the long cane was very useful, it was still not an adequate set of requirements or characteristics. In September 1971, a group of scientists, administrators, technologists, and mobility specialists met to draw up standards and specifications for the long cane and to develop acceptable techniques for its use under a variety of conditions. National Research Council, 1972. Okay, cool. So these are like the more specific specifications that they based on Russell C. Williams that they came up with. I guess that's 7 years later in 1971. Okay, so here are the specifications. I'm just going to read them and then I'm going to kind of go through the long canes. Okay, specifications. The cane is composed of 4 parts: the crook, the grip, the shaft, and the tip. People don't really use crooks so much anymore. The pamphlet, Specifications for the Long Cane, Tyflo cane, defines crook as the upper part of the cane which is curved to form an arc or hook. The grip as that portion of the cane which has been adapted for grasping by covering with leather, plastic, rubber, or other suitable materials. The shaft is the main part of the cane that extends from the base of the crook to the tip of the end of the cane. The tip as an element at the lower end of the cane that normally contacts the ground. The outside diameter of the tubing is 0.5 inches, 13 millimeters. The wall thickness is 0.062 inches or 0.6 millimeters, and the inside diameter is 0.375 inches or 9.5 millimeters. All right, so basically it's saying that like the outside diameter of all these canes should be a half inch. So let's take a look and see if they hold to that. Okay, I'll start with the Revolution cane. This was the cane that I learned on in my orientation and mobility class, and Revolution is actually made by this kite company, Revolution Kites. So it kind of fits in with this other thing that I've been talking about, which is how companies kind of get enlisted to make things for people who are blind. Okay, so this is 8/16, which is half an inch. Okay, so the Revolution fits. Then we have one that I don't think you can get anymore, but some folks will remember the high core cane made in Woburn, Mass. That is also 1/2 inch. Great, so that fits in. Then we have another very popular cane, just a collapsible Ambitech. 1/2 inch. And then this is a Mahler cane. This is another old one with a crook. This is a straight cane. And yep. Ooh. And then the last one is, this one's skinnier, but it's because it's an ID cane. So how many 16ths of an inch is that? So is that an F? Yeah, it's an F, so that's 6 16ths, so less than 1/2 inch. All right, so yeah, they're all fitting that specification. You know, that's cool, great, good to know. Good use of the tactile caliper. All right, so in the 1971 National Research Council Conference in Washington, D.C. adopted physical and functional characteristics for the crook, the grip, and the tip, as well as for the shaft of the long cane. Desirable features include straight vertical axis of the shaft, 2, slight taper of the shaft from tip to grip, 3, various length to fit height of the individual user, 4, sufficient length to provide the user with essential information in ample time to react to it, but not to inhibit the user's physical freedom, ideally to extend from the ground at the side of the foot in the forward position to 1 1/2 inch, 3.8 centimeters above the bottom of the breastbone. Okay, so that's for length. Weight as light as possible without affecting balance or sacrificing other requirements. Depending on length, 6 to 8 ounces. Low wind resistance, that's 6. 7, enough rigidity to enable the user to establish accurate distance and position of object detected, that is, without excessive whip or bend, maintaining original shape under stress. Must not conduct significant amounts of thermal or electrical energy. Yeah, that's good. Adequate transmission of vibrations from the tip to grip to provide the best tactile and oral stimulus. Sufficient durability to withstand hard bumps and constant use without bending and without shattering or posing other hazards if it should break. High visibility to motorists and pedestrians. Should make only minimal noise without using artificial dampening devices. Good balance so that it is self-aligning when allowed to rest lightly in the palm of the hand. And 14, acceptable appearance. Yeah, so the weight there, that's just for a straight long cane. So I guess we could measure the one straight long cane that I have here and see if it fits to that 6 to 8 ounce weight. So I'll fire up the postal scale and get this on there. Yeah, it's 9 ounces, so that's not too far off. But a little bit heavier than is ideal. I also have a that was me weighing this Mahler cane with a crook that's from like the early 80s. And then I have a Chris Park telescoping cane here. That's 63 inches, I think, which is a really nice cane in my opinion. And let's see how much it weighs. I gotta turn on the scale again. I mean, I think as an O&M, I just think lightness of the cane is so key, especially if you're using it a lot, you know. Oh, okay, wow, so the Chris Park cane is only 4 ounces. That's cool. Then let's think about, so if you go further on and look at the specifications for a collapsible cane, it says they can weigh up to 1 pound. And I think, you know, it just by virtue of it being collapsible, it weighs a little bit more because you have to have a little bit of extra length because it overlaps. So there's just more material. There's an elastic within it. So let's see what my trusty reliable Revolution cane ways. The only cane that has a slight taper from, well, yeah, no, the slight taper from top to bottom is the Chris Park definitely wins out for that. All right, turn on this postal scale. So I'm gonna weigh this Revolution cane at 6 inches. Oh, 8.8 ounces, great. So that's even closer. So this is a graphite cane, I like a lot. Then let's weigh this Ambiotech cane. It's aluminum, I'm pretty sure. Oh, the scale went out. It's a little fussy. And Ambiotech cane weighs almost 10 ounces. This one's 48 inches, so that's a little heavier. And then we have the high core cane, which they don't make anymore. How much does that weigh? That weighs, oh wait, I have to restart the scale. Okay. A high core cane weighs 8.6. Yeah, so with the modern collapsible canes, they really got the weight down. High core has a red plastic handle. It's different from other collapsible canes in that it doesn't have a loop of elastic. It just has one elastic running through the whole cane. How to change the tip is not something I know. I'm sure it's possible. So we see that some of the canes are still conforming to pretty much mostly the specifications that they laid out for a long time. I really want to read this part, and I probably should have said it earlier in the video because nobody's watching anymore, but the advantages, Lee Farmer writes a really great description of what is the advantage of a long cane. And does the disadvantages too, so I'll read those now. Advantages. The long cane is the most effective and efficient mobility aid yet devised for safe, independent travel by the majority of visually impaired people. That just means it's a lot cheaper to get someone a long cane than training with a guide dog, so the majority. The scanning system in which the user operates the cane supplies echo ranging cues and force impact data that give vital information about the immediate environment. So echo ranging cues, that's right. The sound of the long cane gives you some idea of the space that you're in. And then force impact data, I like that phrase, gives vital information about the immediate environment. So, what is the surface that you're walking on, you can tell from the cane. It informs a traveler about the nature and condition of the surface underfoot, gives sufficient forewarning of downsteps or drop-offs to prevent falls or injury, and protects the lower part of the body from collision. The cane informs the user about various ground surface textures which can be related to specific areas and destinations. It is a highly maneuverable aid that allows investigation of the environment without actual hand contact. The long cane is reliable, long-lasting, and somewhat unaffected by unfavorable weather and temperature conditions. Most require no accessories and virtually no maintenance, except the occasional replacement of a worn tip. The cane can be accommodated to most users' physical specifications, and in some instances their disabilities. So in the HIES program, they were used to working with people who have other physical disabilities as a result of combat injury. So here are the disadvantages though. The disadvantages, there are however some disadvantages peculiar to the long cane and its use. Primarily, it does not provide adequate protection against collision to the upper part of the body. Yeah, that's the primary drawback. The long cane is non-collapsing, and storing it at social gatherings in public or private transportation presents a problem. There is also the danger of tripping pedestrians in a congested area. Cane tips do break or wear out and must be replaced. High winds sometimes interfere with maneuverability of the cane, that's true. And it is not a weight-bearing or support cane. Some people wish it was. Although the scanning process employed is functional, the length of the cane limits the range and the amount of information transmitted to and received by the user. In addition, um, learning to use the long cane involves extensive training. Yeah, it's a skill. Fortunately, a substantial body of training techniques have been adopted, and undergraduate and graduate programs for orientation and mobility specialists have been founded at several colleges and consistently supported by the Rehabilitation Services Administration. We'll see. Okay, so then we'll just keep going. I'll just keep going. Why make another one? These are the specifications for folding or collapsible canes. Many efforts have been made to develop a satisfactory folding or collapsible cane. This was back then. Now we have great folding canes, I would say, but this is still interesting to hear about. The first collective effort to discuss status, make recommendations, and set tentative standards was made by mobility specialists, researchers, and mobility consumers at Mobility Research Conference of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1963. The conference, sponsored by the American Foundation for the Blind, the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, Seeing Eye, and MIT, and the Veterans Administration, resulted in a project aimed at the development of a collapsible or folding long cane. The following specifications were established. Okay, the weight is not to exceed 1 pound. So we've seen how, these collapsing canes might be a little bit heavier than a straight cane, but not much. The folded cane must fit into a coat pocket, 5 inches by 10 inches by 0.62 inches. Really? Okay, well that'd be the width. But so what that would just mean is the longest fold 10 inches, and that is definitely not so for the Revolution cane. It's at least a foot. The high core cane is true for. The Ambitech cane is true for. The crisp part cane is almost true for. It's about exactly a foot long, a little bit longer. Ooh, that's very loud. That's the scroll caliper. Yeah, it's longer than a foot. The ID cane, it fits. That works. Okay. Aside from collision damage, the cane must survive 5,000 fold extend cycles based on 1 year of use by an active blind traveler. That's good to know, because they do wear out. They don't last forever. It's the elastic that wears out. If you've ever seen an old rubber band, it gets kind of like dried out and it snaps easily. So, I mean, it's good elastic inside the cane, but yeah, it wears out. The assembled unit must provide a handle and a tip with feel and sound generating characteristics comparable to those of the standard long cane. Yeah, that's no problem. While extended length cannot be changed by the user, design must include various provisions for supplying a cane assembly in 2-inch, 5 centimeter increments of length over a range of 36 to 70 inches. Cool. Should be easy to open and close. One-handed operation should be possible in the opening, closing, locking, and storing procedures. That is debatable. I think that you can, but it's tough. That is a little bit of a legacy of being at the VA, and there's like one-handed use operation brailers because they're taking into account people with other physical disabilities. So yeah, 8, simple overall design with assembly of component parts that do not require specialized techniques. Yeah, I can fix a long cane. It's pretty easy. You just actually, the most useful tool is actually like a wire that you bend a hook into to get the elastic. Realistic mass market price of under $10. That's in the 70s, so I think we're doing pretty good about that now. Closest possible mechanical equivalent to conventional long cane when extended. Yeah, you lose a little sensitivity at each juncture. That's why some people prefer using just a straight cane, because it's more direct feedback. And then other requirements for consideration are ability to be collapsed and expanded quickly. Yep, we got it. Tips should be sensitive, durable, and constructed so as not to stick or catch in cracks or on rough surfaces. I think there's more tips than they ever dreamed of there being. Reasonable freedom from operational failure, should be well balanced so as to center and align easily. Joints should be self-cleaning. Continuous metallic path along the cane axis to provide the same vibrotactile information capabilities as a one-piece unit, and should not require retraining to use. Yeah, so that's all like basic stuff. So this is a really cool paper by Lester W. Farmer, Lee Farmer, one of the original O&Ms. It's called Mobility Devices. And it came out in 1972 or something like that. And what's cool is you can see the development of a ton of different devices for orientation mobility, including early attempts at like range finding things like the mini guide and a bunch of different ones that were massive, like big kind of flashlights that had a 6-foot sensitivity for obstacle detection, but they weren't that great. So that's a pretty okay video about the specifications for a long cane, at least to get you started. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.